Hi, everybody. My name is Anna Zverovna. I'm Schmincke and Da Vinci brand ambassador, watercolor artist, book author, and today I'm very glad to tell you about secrets of watercolor and secret of granulation because this theme is very unique, and it always gets lots of questions. So I'm happy that today I can share my knowledge and my experience as a practicing watercolorist. I will be talking about super-granulation and granulation. So what's generally granulation? It's visibly clear appearance of pigment particles on an even texture of the paper. Of course, it can sound complicated, but I have painted this painting only using super-granulation Galaxy. Based on this painting, you can clearly see that watercolor has not even texture. It could be a great advantage because watercolors so it could be a great advantage because it gives you incredible textures. I will show you a little bit of paintings because it's always a question, where can we use these? So what's the point of granulation? So we can use granulation on different big washes, big watercolor washes. We can use watercolors with granulation in the process where we have like very even washes, and we want to have these washes look more good, look more interesting. And by the way, granulation is always more visible when you see it in live. So not on the screen, but in live. So when we're talking about granulation, granulation is kind of uneven texture. By the way, this painting, it's on my book cover. Moment, I will find my book and show you. This book is published in German, but it's also about super granulated aquarelle watercolor colors. While painting the cover, I also used very many Schmincke watercolors because they give this structure and it's very interesting to look through these textures in life and so on. So they give you kind of a very interesting washes and granulation gives you the ability for the viewer to look through your painting more clearly. So in some places it's like very visible. That was the examples of where you can use granulation, and in fact you can use it everywhere because they are very convenient to use because Schmincke, so I'm brand ambassador of Schmincke, and Schmincke launched a very successful line of super-granulating colors. It consists of 40 colors in the main line. So here are these 40 colors, and also 2 limited editions. It's urban and haze. So partly you can see these partly you can see these series on the covers here. So what's the principle of Schmincke super-granulation colors, and why do they call it super-granulation? Because Schmincke use in process of creating these colors, Schmincke use the pigments that tend to granulate, because granulation is about the nature of the pigment. It's the most important factor while forming the granulation. It's pigments. There are groups of pigments. So you know that watercolor consists of pigments and some other, but pigments is the most important. And some of the pigments tend to granulate more. So the first there are kind of group of pigments that tend to granulate. It's ultramarine, it's cobalt, it's many of the earth tones, so sepia, umber, and so on, and many other. When we need to have granulation, we need to choose the pigments that tend to granulate. Schmincke made these super cool super-granulating series, and this series and their significant significance is that they choose 2 or more pigments that granulate, that tend to granulate, and that look harmonious together. For example, so here are these swatches, and some of these paints granulate, and here we can see that it's one color granulating, but it consists of 2 pigments. Some of them granulate, and they make like these gorgeous textures using the pigments that look harmonious together but different. For example, glacier green, it's PR, so it's pigment red, and pigment green, and you can see this is one color. When I saw it, I couldn't believe it because it's like gorgeous. And there are many colors in this line that can visible where violet and brown, for example, or where red and green could be visible, and they are I don't know, I love watercolors and I love granulation. So the first, when we're talking about granulation, it's the pigment. The second, big criteria, it's water, because granulation reacts and granulation shows itself when we have water. Because when you have water on your paper, then you can the pigment can spread and fall apart into these particles on the paper. So the first, when talking granulation, is that we need to have pigments that tend to granulate. The second that we need is water. And the third that we need is the structure and texture of the paper. Because the rougher your paper is, the more visible granulation you receive. So today I will be painting at this Hahnemühle watercolor, and the texture is rough. So I don't know if it's seen on the camera, but yeah. It is seen, and my paper has this structure, and this structure allows me to have this granulation more visible. So today we will paint a kind of this mountain landscape, and I will show you where in these mountain landscapes where I paint with the super-grants. So Pamela, if there are some questions, I can answer them now, or we begin to paint.
There's one question here for you. Nicole would like to know, what are your favorite colors in the range?
Oh, it's a very difficult question. and it's very, very difficult to choose among all, because I have like 10 super favorite colors. But if I'm forced to choose one, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But I would choose between Galaxy Violet and Glacier Green. I will show you these swatches. So Galaxy Violet is very beautiful color that's fall apart into violet, red, and blue, and it's like gorgeous. And Glacier Green falls apart into red, brown, and green, and it's also awesome. And by the way, today I will use both of these colors. I think I should place the camera a little bit lower, so you can clearly see these clearly. So please, 1 second. I will place the camera like here. So yeah, I think. And also, this is my palette. I will place here the colors that I will use for the demo, but of course I will tell you all the colors that I'm using in process. Okay. And I begin pencil sketch. And I'm beginning pencil sketch with marking all the big silhouettes I can see. So here I will have snow, and here I would have this mountain range, and I'm marking these, trying to convey the feeling of the mountains. By the way, the reference photo was taken in San Antonio in Austria this December. And as you may have noticed, I'm fond of painting mountains, especially snowy one. So, and I'm simply marking the places where I would have like these snow, and that's the snow. So, in fact, I'm always making the pencil sketch really quick because I don't like to mark all the details with pencil. I prefer to make the most of the details while with the brush and with the colors. So I'm marking these places, marking the places where I will have these bright snow. So the snow is will be white. And yeah. And I will be grateful if I would know if anyone paints with me right now, because if you're painting with me, I will paint not so quick. Okay, so my pencil sketch is ready, and I begin to wash the sky.
And Anna, a question about the Schmincke series. We can see there's the boxes above your painting, and they have little pictures of your art on them. when these were designed, did you create the art for it, and then did Schmincke then design the series?
No,
Or they give you
no.
colors
All the covers here are painted within the colors that are among the series. So, for example, desert, and all the series are named by nature themes. Here is desert, deep sea, galaxy, glacier, and so on. So there are 8 of them. Of course, they sent me the colors, and of course, I painted the colors themed. What was the name of the series? So I painted the subjects that was like possible to to this paint.
Thank you. That's very interesting.
You're welcome. When I'm painting the sky, so sky is not the most important part of this painting, because I want the viewer to look not on the sky but on the mountains. I'm simply applying clean water on the sky area, avoiding the peaks. Because I will be painting sky wet on wet. And wet on wet means that we have the water on the paper. So I'm applying clean water. And I begin to wash the sky. My sky will be darker here and a little bit lighter here. For sky, I use ultramarine with the cadmium orange. And one more thing that I didn't mention about super-granulation colors, is that when you add granulating colors in the mix, all your mix become to granulate. So if I use non-granulating pigments and then add granulating, the whole mix will be with granulation. And now it's ultramarine plus cadmium orange. It's most of my favorite mix. And also talking about granulation, of course, we can paint all the painting with super-granulation colors, but it looks more interesting and more, I don't know, effective when you paint part of your painting with normal non-granulating colors, watercolors, and add in some places granulation, and it creates the contrast that is needed in every painting, because contrast is the most important thing in watercolor. So now I'm simply washing the sky. Only with the 2 colors. The color is ultramarine. By the way, ultramarine is also granulating pigment.
And Anna, there's a couple of people in the chat wondering what type of pencil you use to sketch out your drawing.
In fact, I think that it's not so important what pencil do you use, but I'm using the same HB pencil everywhere. And if we're talking about the brand of pencil, it's Kohinoor, it's Czech brand. But in fact, I don't think that it's kind of very important, because it's important that you don't have these big marks of pencil. So some watercolorists like when the pencil is visible under the watercolor washes. Some watercolorists don't like. I prefer to this group that don't like the pencil to be seen. So and also what I'm doing now, because I'm painting on the cotton paper, and it's the cotton paper, the paint dries and becomes really lighter. So now I'm adding like more color, because when it dries, it will become not so intense and not so saturated. Yeah, I think that my sky is done, and it's the place where I begin to use granulating colors. Why? Because I will paint here. I will paint these distance peaks. And I want in these peaks to be kind of a texture. But this texture should not be very, I don't know, saturated, very visible, and so on, because watercolors are transparent. So I will use these super-grants on these distance peaks to create the effect that viewer can see something there. We don't know what's there, but we can see that there is something there. I don't know if I'm talking, you understand me, I know, but and one more moment. I will now dry this, because my paper is wet, and if we apply paint now, it will begin to flow into my sky, and I don't want it. So 1 minute or less, I will dry this with a hair dryer. And so now my paper here is dry, and I begin to wash these distance areas. And for this, I'm using this Glacier Green. Remember about what I've talked about granulation, that granulation is formed when we have, is more visible when we have more water on the sheet. So now I will simply add some water here. So it's the water that help the granulation to be more visible, and so now we are making these distance peaks. I'm using Glacier Green, and the mix should be not so saturated, but not so pale. So I'm adding a little bit more, and here the magic begins, because when I look how these particles begin to granulate, I'm thrilled, because it's magic. And I'm simply applying this paint. In some of the places, I add more water so that my borders will be not so sharp.
And Anna,
Yeah.
we have here listed that you're using the Da Vinci brushes, and
yes.
what size are you using right now?
Right now, I'm using like my super favorite brush. It's Da Vinci Casaneo series #2. It's the imitation of squirrel, and it's my most used brush ever because I do like washes I do with Casaneo, and details I do with Dartana. Dartana is also like super cool brush. So these, in fact, I will today paint with two brushes. So it's Casaneo #2 and Da Vinci Dartana #7. Okay, and I have washed this distance peak, and now for me it's time to make these areas. So I have, because we have aerial perspective, so these should be, these are most distance peaks, these is in the middle from the view from us, and this is the most visible, and here the snow is the foreground. So I will now
And
use.
would you mind clarifying the color that you just used on your painting, please?
Yes, of course. So in the sky, it was ultramarine plus cadmium orange deep. In mixes, they give this gorgeous gray I love the most. And here is glacier green. So this is one color. These fall apart into two different pigments, and I love it. So basically, there were three colors used. Now here in this zone, because it's in the middle of everything, I will use galaxy blue. And I will also add in this mix of ultramarine finest and cadmium orange deep to be it not so blue, because you know, galaxy blue. So here is in a palette. It's like very blue, and I don't want my mountains to be so blue. So I will mix ultramarine with cadmium orange, gray, and then I will add a little bit of galaxy blue. So my mix will be kind of grayish blue. And also talking about granulation, I want here to be like this granulation to be more visible. So I'm taking clean water and I'm applying clean water. It's not a very necessary process, but I want you to show how super granulating colors are in life. And now I'm applying this water just for you to see this process. And I begin to, so my mix should be a little bit darker than this because we are talking about middle plan. And my paint begin to flow and my paint begin to granulate, and it's not scaring because I'm painting on a good paper, and I have like time. I have time till my paper dries. When I'm having like these areas, I use brush for details because I need to control the paint. And in some places, I can use these galaxy blue in pure form, and when it dries, it will create very beautiful. So, And you can see that the paper and the paints begin to work. So we can see clearly see this in this place, the granulation this place, and it's very, I don't know, beautiful when you see it in life, and this texture. So it's granulation for me personally, and not only for me, is about creating the textures. And I'm leaving these areas here without paint, so it will be my light zones. And the paper here is wet, so I don't paint in this. And now I begin to wash this area. And this is time for Galaxy Violet. Why Galaxy Violet? Because it's about aerial perspective. So I use on my the most far from the viewer peaks, I used Glacier. It's like greenish. So here I used Galaxy, it's bluish, Galaxy Blue, plus ultramarine and cadmium orange deep to create this kind of grayish. And here I will use these ultramarine finest and cadmium orange deep plus Galaxy Violet, and the whole mix will granulate. And I'm mixing like big amount of paint because I want this paint to be enough for all these. And I'm adding now this Galaxy Violet in the mix.
So there's a question here for you, Anna.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Joan would like to know, when you mix the super-granulation colors with the non-granulating, does the granulation take over? Do they cause other colors to look like they're granulating?
Yes. Strictly yes. The whole mix will be granulating. It's the process, and it's simply the physics. So yes, if you mix non-granulating with granulating, the whole mix will granulate. And I begin to wash these areas, and because they are moment, sorry, I need to concentrate because it's the closest peak to the viewer, and we need to wash it carefully. So you see, this is Galaxy Violet mixed with drop of ultramarine and cadmium orange, but this mix, of course, begins to granulate, and I'm used to working with super-granulating colors, but I'm thrilled I paint with them because I think it's pure magic. So now I added water with the spray just to just not to wash the paint off from a brush. So I added it with the spray, and also here. I understand that you now see on the camera, you see like a very gray mix. In fact, I see this gray mix too, but I know that it's not gray, but it's grayish, violety, and so on. So, and I begin to wash these areas, and I'm careful because I need to mark here the border of light and shadow, and I need not to cover it with the paint because, as you probably know, white color in watercolor is just paper left without paint on it. Sometimes I use masking fluid for this, but mostly I just try to concentrate and not to cover the areas with paint. Now I need to, in fact, I have here the second glass with clean water and other brush, clean, it's also Casanillo, so I have the same brushes. This is brush with clean water. I just need to that my paint flows here. So I will have dark mix here and very smooth transition here. And I will make the snow only with the Galaxy Violet because here it was like a little bit grayish, more grayish. And here on this foreground, I will also place here the water and Galaxy Violet in pure form. Okay, so I am looking what I have here, and maybe somewhere clean the borders. Yeah. Okay, so I have done the major washes, and now it's time for details. I need to dry my sheet. So I will dry it now, and if you have questions, feel free to ask. Okay, so as you may have noticed, I'm checking if the paper is dry with the other side of my finger. Just if it has the room temperature, then it's dry. If it's cold, then it's still water inside. And I begin to make the details. I'm also taking Glacier Green for stones in the distance part. but I'm mixing it with a sepia brown, so they will be darker than our mix. And I'm beginning to use, wait a moment. I'm beginning to use a technique called dry brush. And this technique allows me to create texture, visible texture on distant mountains, simply applying paint with the dry brush, and sometimes I also smudge it with my finger. And look, it's very quickly. So how it's possible? 30 seconds. And I have like this texture, and it's very convenient to use dry brush and smudging in such cases.
And Anna, there's a question here. If you have a recommendation for working with a limited palette, what 3 primary colors you would choose that are granulating?
It's a good question. Moment, I will show you. So I would definitely chosen this Galaxy Violet. I will choose, I think, I don't know. It's kind of a tricky question, you know, because I'm now trying to figure out the most brilliantly looking mixes, but you know, granulating colors is like a decoration. It's like these textures, they are very interesting, and of course you can paint with 3 primary super grand colors, but they consist of minimum 2 pigments, so there is no guarantee that you don't receive kind of not so good mixes, so you need to experimentate, and I have never such I've never thought about this such way, but I think I will choose Galaxy Violet. I will choose like maybe this Glacier Blue, and maybe Galaxy Pink, and it's hard to answer because I have not so very common palette, because I paint many paintings on the mix of ultramarine finest and cadmium orange deep. So if you are asking among the base Schmincke colors, of course I can say you, but if we're talking about super grands, it's hard to say, so sorry, but I cannot answer this question. And I now begin to make the details here. And for this, again, I'm using cadmium orange. I'm using sepia brown. And here, because here in this wash I had Galaxy Blue, I add a little drop of Galaxy Blue here in my mix, because my stones will look more harmonious if they have this Galaxy Blue in the dark mix. And again, dry brush. in some places, I want my mix to be more orange. So now I'm basically creating the stones on the mountains. And now it's also time for my very flat operation. I'm covering the sky with the towel because I don't want here to be the splashes. So I'm covering the lid because I want my splashes to be here. And I'm beginning to splash to create the texture of the stones. Yeah, it now looks more interesting. And also I'm making the details here on this part, and I'm doing again this dry brush, so something to mark the stones. And again smudging. So the base principles, when now I'm making the details, is that I'm trying to convey the feeling of the stones, but not trying to take it like really much time. And this part where I have granulation, I'm very careful because I don't want to cover it with these stones and so on. So.
And could you remind us the color that you're painting with currently?
Yes, it's ultramarine plus sepia plus here I added for these stones I added galaxy blue, and also in some places it was cadmium orange, and here is exactly this mix ultramarine plus sepia, but also without this galaxy violet. And I'm always adding, when I'm making the details, I'm always adding the color of the base wash inside the darker mix.
Thank you. And is the paper completely dry now as you work out the details?
Yes. I have dried it with a hair dryer because I need my details to be sharp, and I cannot make sharp details when my paper is wet. So I was supposed to use hair dryer, but in fact I'm using hair dryer like all the time when I'm painting. So I have this painting hair dryer that is always on my table because it speeds up the process.
And does the hairdryer ever move the pigments on the paper, or does the granulation stay put?
No. So I'm not using the hair dryer when I have like really lots of water. I'm using it when my paper began to dry, but not enough dry to paint further. So when I'm having like this very much water, I don't use the hair dryer. Of course, in theory, it can lead that that the hair dryer moves the pigment, but I think it's about the practice.
Thank you.
And a little details made with these galaxy violet in pure form. So I want to make kind of marks on the snow. And in some places I use this dry brush technique. In some places I simply use the normal brush. And in fact, this is Galaxy Violet, and you cannot see granulation here in this when I'm painting like this, because there is not enough water in my mix and on the paper. So the base concept that I'm talking about like all the time is when you have want granulation, add water, take rougher paper, and so on. So, and if you are trying to use kind of dry brush with granulated colors, it will simply, it won't work. And I wanted to have like this snow. So and some final details. I'm using some dark paint I have. So I'm mixing this ultramarine with the sepia, with the Galaxy Violet, just to have like this dark mix, because I want to create the more dark details. And I'm carefully applying this. So I think basically, I need to stop because there is kind of such things when you begin to overwork the painting, and watercolor is loved because of its freshness and so on. So now I think I will stop adding the details, and I will add the birds. I have to add the birds. And they will be like small details. So I'm taking this dark mix. It's not important what dark color you have here. It just should be dark. And I'm thinking, where should I place these? I think it's somewhere here. Okay, I think that this painting, this sketch is finished, and I think that I have showed you about granulation and how to work with granulation. I will now make a closer look because it's more clearly seen when you see it in live. And so you can see that this granulation gives us that textures that you simply cannot achieve without. So
very beautiful. Thank you so much.